Hey guys, welcome back. It's Jadon at Mazda, and today we have the brand new 2024 Mazda CX-90 inline 6. This specific trim we're looking at is going to be the Preferred Plus. So let's go ahead and jump into it and get into some of the features. So a quick rundown of what we actually have here. This is this all new CX-90, right? This is Mazda's first vehicle in North America based on their new large product architecture, which is going to be that rear-wheel drive based all-wheel drive inline 6 system. We're going to know CX-60 uses that overseas in Europe, and then following this next year we're going to get the CX-70. But obviously let's go over what we have right here in front of us with some of the styling. Starting top down, we're going to see the hood. I like how Mazda, what they do with a lot of their vehicles is they don't go overly aggressive, so we have a nice blend of sportiness and elegance. We can see our character line in the hood here and how that flows right into the A-pillar, which looks really cool. If we're moving a little bit further south, we can check out our lighting display here. We can see we have an LED light strip that goes into our grille surround, which Mazda keeps. That's the head of the Samurai. I like how they've incorporated that into this model. Our LED main bulb here, and then under that we have our fog lamp. Since this is the Preferred Plus, which is a middle level trim, which I think a lot of people are going to go for, this doesn't have the LED in the cluster here, just the headlight, but in some of our higher trims you'll see this is going to be an LED light for your daytime. Moving down a little bit, we're going to check out what we have going on in the front. We can see our emblem right here in the front. That's going to house our radar, cruise control, things like our automatic braking and all these new safety systems, because we know Mazda ranks year in, year out #1 in safety, especially in this large SUV. This one's not rated, but I expect it to be very well done. Okay, moving a little bit more further south, if we take a look here, not like the CX-50 functional vents. Obviously a big applause to Mazda for that, but I think what you really don't really see in the pictures and the videos, just how wide this thing is. It's really wide, definitely has a presence. Lower down we have that functional little air scoop to channel in air into that inline 6, and you can kind of see that it's shut off in there, but when you're driving it's going to open on up, allow a lot of that hot or that cool air to pass through the radiator. Taking a step back and moving on a little bit to the left here, going to check out some side styling. As we can see, this is the Preferred Plus, which honestly I think a lot of people are really going to go for, because I know everybody's seeing the reviews with our top trims and things like that, but realistically most buyers are going to have a budget, and this is where it's going to be. In this Preferred Plus trim, we are going to be sitting right at about 46 to 48 depending on how they're optioned, and it's going to get you a lot of bang for your buck. So let's check out some of this styling here. We can see we do have a black plastic trim, but with this being a Jet Black Mica color, we can take a look at that. We can see we still have a bit of pearlescent. This is actually going to pair well with this, so it's not too huge of a deal. If you do have a lighter color exterior car, maybe like a rhodium white or a platinum quartz, that might be a little bit more obvious to your eye. Checking it a little bit further south, we have the wheels. These are still nice size. They don't look that big, but they are. These are 19-inch wheels, finished in a bright silver finish. Obviously you can see your brakes back there. One thing with this new CX-90, these brakes are really sensitive. I'm not sure if it has to do with the mild hybrid technology, but these brakes are super sensitive. As far as the tires go, we do have 265 on the width, 55 series sidewall. So this is going to be a nice supple ride. Just if you've driven in a CX-9, just take this, I'd say double it or even triple it with this new Mazda suspension setup. We have all new for the first time. If we can kind of take a look in here, double wishbone in the front, and then a multi-link rear suspension. Mazda's put a lot of time in developing this new powertrain and this new chassis. Obviously we're going to get to the inline 6, but we're going to focus on some other things right now. Underneath the skin, what we're not really seeing is going to be that 48-volt mild hybrid system, and that is going to allow us to achieve a more efficient drive. The outgoing CX-9 is going to be about 23 miles per gallon. However, this CX-90 with 2 more cylinders and additional horsepower is going to give us 25 miles per gallon, which is really impressive from this vehicle that weighs 4,700 pounds. It's a big car, big car. If we look also attached to that is going to be Mazda's new 8-speed automatic transmission, which is going to make shifting through the gears like real butter. Moving on from our technical features, more to some of our styling features here. In the front fender, we can see inline 6 stamped proudly by Mazda. I'm not the biggest fan of this little design choice. I wish it would have shrunk a little bit. I know in our higher trims, it's finished in a brushed aluminum, which looks a little bit better, but since this is the black colorway, it's just going to blend in nicely. we can see Mazda's adapted the mirrors as well as the door handles from these newer cars, i.e. like the CX-30 or the Mazda 3, which obviously helps it look a little bit more up to date. And going over what you really don't get an essence of in vehicle is how big this car really is. So compared to a CX-90, it definitely has a lot more presence. It's a lot taller. It just feels like a bigger car. All this glass, there's a lot of good greenhouse. So when we get inside, you guys will be able to check that out. But moving to the top, obviously this one's gonna have roof rails that extend all the way to the front. And then our nice rear quarter view before we go ahead and head to the back here. Gonna check out Mazda's new lighting system. So of course, keeping it classy, all LED lights in all the trims here. So we have our LED. I know with newer cars, what we're gonna see a lot is a light bar system. So Mazda's, they're crossing over into it a little bit, but not entirely right. We can see it stops about 3/4 of the way there with our Mazda emblem right in the middle. And then for our turn signals, Mazda is gonna have these heartbeat style that they adapted first in the CX-30. Now in our CX-9, looks really, really cool. And then moving a little bit lower, we see eSky Active G because, like I said, mild hybrid system here, but we're still making about 280 horsepower, which is really cool. And then CX-90 standard rear biased all-wheel drive. And then moving a little bit more south, we have our reflectors at the bottom. And what we don't see is exhaust outlets because they are tucked underneath here. So if we take another look, oh, there they are, both sides. Clever design work there. So since we are here in the back, we're gonna go ahead and check out the trunk space of this and how this kind of compares to that outgoing CX-9. So if we pop our trunk here, we are gonna have power lift gate, of course. Just one little press and that opens on up. We can see off the bat, compared to a CX-9, this is gonna actually have a little bit more space. I know because generally when they have the floor mats in a 9, they're kind of hanging off a little bit, but this does have a little bit more space. They did take away these little things on the side here for extra space, but they are hiding some clever stuff underneath there. We do have our tire change kit and some extra pockets, but if you go underneath there, you also are gonna have your spare tire setup as well. And then if you guys need even more space than that, they do have these nice little pull tabs, which are easy to access. Just give it one push. Same thing, we're gonna pull that out, give it another push, and that throws down really easy for a ton of space. And if you need even more space than that, of course, that second row folds down completely flat for a little bit over, 7.5, 8 feet there of total cargo space to throw all your fishing gear or whatever you're carrying with your family. And then to close this up, we can see we have a trunk closer button. We also have a lock button here. So let's say, you're finishing loading up your groceries, you want to hit that lock, it'll lock the doors when you guys are ready to finish up that trip. So after checking out the back, here we are in the front, and go ahead and check out what's going underneath the hood, powering the heart of the beast. And of course, here it is, an engine cover. You guys should have expected it, but we'll go underneath that in a second. Obviously in the new Mazda CX-90, we have this 3.3 liter turbo inline 6, making about 280 horsepower. And that is not dependent on the gas. On these lower trims, you actually can use 87 or 91, and it will produce the same output. But here in this specific trim, the Preferred Plus, we get that bump and tow rating up to 5,000 pounds. In those lower trims, it's going to be 3,500, which is still plenty. But of course, if you want to go for the Turbo S, they do recommend to get 91 if you want to get that full power. In those, you'll get 340 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. I like what they've done here as far as the cover with the way that you can access it. We have these two little pins. You just turn that to the left either way, and then it comes up. And then underneath right here, they have this nice little thing that you can squeeze and pop out. And what that does is if you put it on the top here, that allows you to hang it to get access to the real engine. But you'll see there's another engine cover over here. If you guys want, you can pop that off relatively easy, and that folds out, and you can see your full inline 6 here. We have our hot side, the turbo over there, cold side, all the mechanics going on. And it's actually pushed pretty far back here. As you can see, the strut tower braces, these are where the front coils are mounted. So this is kind of like a front midship setup as far as how far back the engine is placed in here. But looks really, really cool. A lot of stuff going on here. And if you guys were wondering where the heck is my battery, well, it is same thing tucked underneath a cover, which I think in the future might pose a little bit of a challenge if you guys ever need to get it replaced, but it's pretty easy to get to it. Same thing, we have our little twist here, just pull up and out, and then your battery is revealed tucked far away in there, which obviously for safety reasons is really, really good. If it was to get in a front end collision, then that would be a little bit safer than having it in the front and, you know, risking something spilling over. So we checked out all the outside. Let's check out the inside of the CX-90. But before we do, one thing, since we are going to consider ourselves more premium with this, we're going to listen to this door shut, which I know a lot of people won't pay attention to, but I just want to hear how this sounds. So we have it open here. Let's take a listen. And that sounds pretty sturdy to me. Obviously, this is a big vehicle, so you want a good thunk sound. It sounds really reassuring when you're getting into your car. All right, guys, so here we are in the cabin of the 2024 CX-90. Gonna start off with some styling. We have the steering, which is leather wrapped in a black leather with a nice cross stitch here to give it some character. We have some aluminum trim and then a Mazda emblem, same thing, aluminum with a nice little ring around it. And I like how they've done the design here. It's not overcomplicated with the buttons. It's a lot of things that are very real life usable and not just gimmicky buttons, right? But I'm not sure if you guys recognize the steering wheel from here. I'm gonna throw up an image of the Mazda Vision Coupe interior, and you guys tell me if this looks similar at all. I think that's where they've derived a lot of this from. But anyways, checking things out, we have volume controls here, which are actual buttons. In the back, we are gonna have paddle shifters to shift to that new 8-speed automatic, which I know you guys will wanna do. And then on the right side, we have some adaptive cruise control settings. Moving on from the wheel to our center display here, we're going to check out what we're going on. On the left, we see our RPMs with our red line at 6,500. In the middle, we have our LED gauge, which can cycle through a few different looks. Right now, we just have it with our eye active sense in the middle, which is going to show things like lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, things like that. But we can also shuffle to a more traditional display, which puts miles per hour like an old tachometer would. And then, of course, if you want to press one more time, you can put things like active fuel economy. Looking at some more design cues here, we can check out the door panel, which I think Mazda's done really nice on. And this one is going to have this nice kind of woven look here, but that is actually an aluminum style. And then, of course, our nice light grays. Nice touch here to it as well. And then our air vents here, we have a bronze accent, which looks really cool. I didn't even notice that at first, but yes, bronze accent with aluminum middle. We have our adjustments here, but I like how everything is really attention to detail. These are going to be nice finishes, and that moves along to the dash as well. We have the black leather, and then of course we have some piping here that's going to be bronze as well to go ahead and match that, which looks really cool. And then going kind of from the upper door to the lower door, we're going to see more attention to detail. We have our aluminum trim pieces here on the window switches and the door handle, and this is going to be a new design that's kind of borrowed from a CX-50, if you guys have seen any of those, with the way it kind of swoops out, but I like the way it's positioned. It's nice and sturdy. And then, of course, same thing, we got that bronze cross stitch that goes along the length there with more soft touch leather. And storage for days down here. You could probably fit an XL Dasani water if that's your thing. Some other features, active safety, I-stop in these, and then your trunk popper button right there as well. Going over to the center dash here, which, you know, Mazda's been doing really, really good time in, time out. Same deal. We have our nice soft touch leather here with our bronze stitching that goes across the middle here and into the door. And if we can give it a press test, we can see very sturdy as far as the build quality. And then our aluminum trim that goes right underneath that, I think accents it really nice. Checking out some of the lower items like the HVAC controls. Obviously you can see a lot of, once again, real buttons here. We do have our temperature controls, and the same thing, we have heated seats and then our fan speed. But I like how everything is very simple with the layout. I know in modern cars the competition is who can make the biggest iPad and put it on the dash, but Mazda really still likes the driver experience and the everyday usability. So I know down the line, if you guys plan to keep this car, plan to sell it, the value is going to be a little bit better because of the actual design. It's going to be aging more appropriately versus a screen who will become outdated and probably have electronic issues a few years down the line. Some other features you're going to get in this Preferred Plus, up in the front we have wireless charging here, which is pretty cool. Open this up we have our household style our 12-volt outlet. In my drive, of course, if we look to the center display, we cycle through our sport mode, and then we can go to off-road mode here, because once again, standard all-wheel drive. And if you guys have the tow hitch with the wiring harness enabled, you get an additional mode, tow mode, of course, which is going to allow you to tow up to 5,000 pounds. Some other things here, same thing that's going to go on our door panels, the black leather soft touch, which is in a good position where your knee would hit, so it's nice and cushioned with the bronze cross stitch here. And we can see this is a new-ish, I say newish style shifter, because this is actually borrowed out of the MX-30, which has been on the market since last year. But this has a nice, elegant look. Kind of looks a little bit like a mouse. You guys tell me. But yes, leather wrapped aluminum trim in the middle, and our button up here, really easy to use, not overly complicated. So I like that we still have that there. Some nice, what I really like this here, no more piano black. Everybody knows that is a nightmare for upkeep. The flat black does a lot better as far as wear over time, but the same style that we're going to get on the door transferred over to the dash here, the center console. And then of course the dreaded MI drive, but I really will fight for this thing. Once you guys get accustomed to it, it is pretty easy to get used to, and it does in fact make driving a lot safer. If we're checking out the center console here, you can open that up one of two sides, and then what I didn't expect was just to be how small this really is. So if we open this up, we can see this is only probably about, I don't know, an inch or two of actual depth, which I was expecting a lot more, but that's no big deal. In here we have two new USB-Cs. Mazda use USB-As in the outgoing models, but USB-Cs with an SD card slot for your navigation if you guys want to get that equipped as well. What's not new, however, or relatively new, depends on who you ask, is Mazda's infotainment system, which they've been using, I want to say, since 2020 in the CX-5. Biggest complaint here with people that it's not a touchscreen, but once you get used to it, I mean, the layout of it is very, very simple. You definitely could use it on the fly when you're driving. The main focus of this is for safety, though. You're not supposed to be using it as a source of entertainment. Philosophy is Jim Bayetai, horse's rider as one, as we know. But if you want to use CarPlay, very simple. Just move it to the right here. Then that throws up our CarPlay display. And if we want to get back out of it, once again, super simple. What we do is just hold this home button here, and that will take us back to Mazda's standard infotainment. So here we are in the second row of the CX-90. And what are we really going to see? Does this actually have more space? Short answer, yes, this does have more space, a lot more space. I'm about 6'1", and we can see all the legroom and footroom actually that we are going to have back here as a passenger. It's tons and tons. Some features that you're going to get back here, of course, we have nice AC vents with our USB-C, and a little bit further south, we have our AC controls because this is a tri-zone climate control. Moving over to the door, it's the same style, which I really like. It's carried on from the front. So nice soft touch everywhere you guys are looking. And then of course for the doors, we are going to get these sun shades for the sun here in Southern California. It's very bright outside. Definitely need that. Of course, in this specific trim, we're just going to get a standard sunroof, but you can opt to go for the panoramic moonroof if you guys are looking at maybe a premium or a premium plus, but I think this is more than adequate here. Something that you get actually only in the preferred plus or lower trims. As you can see, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seater, which I wish you could get in the higher trims, but like I said, only in the preferred plus or lower trims. Once you go up to the premium, or if you're going to the premium plus, 7-seater, and when you go up to the Turbo S models, then it's just a 6-seater because you are going to have the little center console here. So you got to sacrifice a little bit, but it does seem very spacious. And if we drop down our center armrest here, we are going to see that we are going to get two little cup holders with our little suctions, which do pretty good. Moving on to the door, we're actually going to get, I'd say probably a little bit more storage in the front. We can put 2 extra large Dasani bottles there and some extra snacks. I don't know, fruit roll-ups, gushers, whatever you guys like for your kids back here. And we're going to see just how easy it is to get into that third row. We do have our release right here, but you can also push the button and that will throw it down. And then we can just push it forward here to get into that third row. So we're going to see how easy it is. Let's go ahead and test it out. I'm going to take one step in here, and then we can see we fit good, but is it going to stay this good? We can push that seat back, and then we can get a really feel for how much space this has. I have about 2 inches, 3 inches right now of extra space, but even if I still wanted to recline the seats a little bit more, I still have, same thing, a couple inches of space, which is really good. I appreciate that a lot. And the same goes for the other passengers next to me. Now the middle seat is a little bit small, so definitely probably a kid versus a grown adult, but the outside seats, they're very good. We do get USB-Cs back here, and then our little HVAC vents right here in the door. So we are not forgotten. One thing, greenhouse in this car is really, really big. The windows are huge. Here's my hand for reference. This is a lot of things going on here in the back seat of the CX-90. So all the way back here, we are still entertained, which I really like, and I appreciate from Mazda. They did put a lot of thought into what's going on for every passenger in this vehicle. All right, guys, so we've gone over a lot of the features here in the CX-90. All that's left is to go on a drive. So let's go ahead and give it a start up, hear how it sounds, and get on the road. All right, guys, here we are driving the 2024 CX-90 Preferred Plus. And first thing you notice right off the bat is really just how soft the suspension is. So CX-9 2023, that was already a really soft and a great handling ride as well. But this is going to take that and take it to the next level, right? Introducing the double wishbone in the front and the multi-link rear suspension. So not only is this a soft ride, so riding over a rougher road here, but it's still very agile on its feet as well. Mazda has found a nice balance with this one. And I know for most of the cars in Mazda's lineup, they believe, you know, this is a driver's car, Jim by Ite, right? So that's horse and rider is one. So not only is this car gonna feel good, it's gonna handle really good too. So I mean, you can see as we're going to a road with a little bit of turns here, this does it really well. I mean, even if we're just in normal driving mode, I'll flip it into sport mode, we have a little bit better response. I mean, we can see we have a sharp turn coming up here, and that really handles that with no problem and little to no body roll also. Because of new for the big SUVs is going to be that kinematic posture control, right? We've seen that already in the Mazda MX-5 Miata. So that's going to be a form of torque vectoring, going to provide some light braking to that rear outside wheel to reduce that body roll. And I think this works really, really well. So I'm just really surprised also by how tight this turn radius is. I mean, we're using less than a half a turn or a full turn to make sharp turns like that. And this actually has an extended wheelbase, quite a bit, you know, compared to the CX-9. So that's really impressive as well. So, I mean, this is as far as multifaceted vehicles goes, this is definitely one of them. So even if you don't have the kids in the car, or you guys are towing, whatever the case may be, you want to just gun it around some corners here. This car is very responsive, and just as quick as it picks up, it slows down, and the turn-in is just really good here. Low effort. And this car is just really, really fun to drive, right? It just eggs you on to do a little bit more each time. And even, you know, this is the 280 horsepower version. It's still a very smooth power delivery at that, albeit thanks to the new inline 6 powertrain, right? We know inherently those are much nicer as far as weight balance and distribution. So under load, they perform a lot better here. So, you know, we have to do an obligatory 0 to 60. We are speeding to pick up the grandkids or speeding to pick up whatever. We got to get on the road quick. Let's see how fast we can go. A little bit of throttle here, and we're off. And really quick shifts here. And just like that, we are at 60, right? This thing just picks up really good. One thing you really notice when you're here driving the car is the engine sound. It sounds really, really nice, and I appreciate that. And then once, you know, we speed up, we got to be able to slow down too. So we're going to do a quick little emergency stop from 45 miles an hour, and 3, 2, 1. And we can see we came to a stop very quickly. No lockup of the brakes, so really impressed with that. So one thing you're going to notice here in the cabin of the 2024 CX-90, outside of the great handling and the supple ride, is overall cabin loudness and volume. So it's actually really quiet in here. Same thing, CX-9 was great at that, and the CX-90 just improves on it, right? So underneath us, you're not getting a lot of road noise, and then of course we're not getting a lot of wind noise either. And even on a rougher road like this, you would think you would be hearing a lot, but I'm really not having to fight over any active noises. And as we come up to a stop here, you'll be able to hear some of the hybrid assist slowing this car down. We'll get a quick sound clip of that. And you can kind of hear that working. Another thing that I'm really impressed with here is that 8-speed automatic. So we know Mazda was using the 6-speed automatic they sourced from Ford quite some time ago. And while that thing was reliable, very bulletproof, it was beginning to show its age a little bit. And in the car age, we're seeing modern 7, 8, 9, 10-speed transmissions. This 8-speed just fits this car really nicely. Turns through the gears very quickly and not really noticeably. I know a lot of the times if you're going to like a dual clutch setup or even some of these torque converters, the shifts tend to be a bit aggressive. But in this, they are nice and soft. But you do feel them if you are in sport mode. And that's a good thing. You want to be able to feel those shifts. And that's another good thing. If you want to shift the gears yourself, you do have the paddle shifters here. And we can see in front of us, the heads up display is working to perfection here. Right now, all we're going to see is the active speed, but you can have things in there like safety, blind spot monitoring, you know, your lane keep assist, if you have navigation in, your turn by turn, and things to that nature, right? And just because it's so fun to do, we're just going to go ahead and get it on again. And this thing just really likes to be revved out to the red limit. Man, this car, it shouldn't be this fun to drive, but it is, right? And that's one thing they've been working on for years and years, the driver enjoyment of the vehicle. As Mazdas are vehicles to be driven, not to be driven in. And I'd say they do that really, really well. They put a lot of focus into how the handling, how it's nice, and it feels weighty, but at the same time, it's light. You don't have to put too much effort into it, but it seems like it's just enough. The weight balance is really good. The weight transfer is really, really nice. All around, it's a good car. They're taking a lot of the concepts from their sportier cars, i.e., you know, the RX-7, the Miata, and they're just putting it into an SUV. And I know everybody's wondering, you know, is this powertrain coming to a car or, you know, a sedan, a sports car, whatever the case may be? And it's one of those things, they just have to get this SUV out of the way, right? Because as the reality we're living in, the SUVs are what sells ultimately. So should the CX-90 and the CX-70 do well in the product line here in North America and worldwide, maybe we'll see this put into a smaller form factor. You know, fingers crossed though, right? But yes, this would prove to be great and a lighter setup. So I'm definitely going to be on that review for a CX-70 when we do get those. Really, really excited for what they have going. And if we're talking about just some around the town cruising here, obviously ride quality is great, but we're getting some pretty good active MPGs here. You can see we're on a steady incline at about 39 miles per gallon, or sorry, 39 miles per hour. And we're climbing here, and we can see our MPGs are at 50 right now. So this inline six is doing a pretty good job at the power delivery and being efficient as well. So here we are on the highway. We're actually on the 91 going eastbound right now. But I don't know if you know anything about California, highways are pretty bad. So we're really just kind of get a natural feel for what real life cabin noise is going to be like. So you do get a little bit of wind noise here. Nothing too dramatic. Road noise is pretty subdued. But all around, visibility is really good, which is what I appreciate. If I needed to make a quick pickup to get into a lane change, you know, I was flipping into sport mode here, and I'll just get on it. And it's really responsive here. So that's one thing that's really appreciated, because you definitely need to make some quick maneuvers here. But this is really just going to have no problem dealing with that. Overall, I think I'm really impressed with this vehicle. Let me know what you guys think. Is the 2024 CX-90 going to be on your short list of cars to look at or potentially buy? If so, come see us if you're located in California, Southern California particularly, at Riverside Mazda, and we will take care of you. All right, guys, until the next time.